Back in 1995, officials of the Chinese Ministry of Water Resources used geographical information systems to differentiate land that is suitable for economic use and land that needs to be set aside for ecologic renewal. This policy was not always understood and was met with skepticism by many. Efforts were made to explain why intact ecosystems were so important. But it became clear that the improvement of the economic land and the removal of impact on the ecologic land had to go hand in hand.
And over 3 or 4 years, we designed together with the local people, with a very active involvement, a package which you can apply in a small watershed, which on the one hand helps the farmers to improve their incomes and their lives, and on the other hand restores the ecological environment. We've always looked at this as a dual objective, which has to be achieved simultaneously. You cannot achieve one without the other. You cannot have one thing first and then the other. It has to be done simultaneously. And so the project had to be balanced, and that's what we have, I think, achieved. And this is the reason why this has become so successful.
Everyone in the project area was engaged. Farmers were paid for their labor, and when the work was finished, they benefited by having the land use rights for the improved land and owning all of the output. Understandably, their primary interest was in getting productive fields on which to grow crops and increase their income. But when their actions are taken to scale, over the entire plateau, it is possible to think about restoring ecosystem health. The Loess Plateau receives between 250 and 800 millimeters of rainfall per year. This is sufficient even for forest ecosystems. But without vegetation and intact soils during the rainy season, most of the water disappears down the eroded gullies, leaving the area parched during the rest of the year. In order to ensure sufficient water for the project, small dams were built to catch the rain, which could then be used throughout the year. This is much different than basing development on subterranean water supplies or in diverting water from other areas. If underground or diverted water is used, then at the height of the development, when requirements are most needed, the resource could run out. The Loess Plateau Watershed Rehabilitation is showing that sustainable water management is required to ensure the long-term viability of development. One of the most celebrated accomplishments of the project is tree planting. And tree planting is very important. But it is not a panacea. Trees are part of an entire system. They help to ensure that there are stable soils, and they need these soils for their survival. These trees, were being planted in 1995, but because of the disruption to the root ball, the survival rate for this type of planting is problematic. But mistakes can be helpful when they are addressed. This has led to new techniques that are increasing the survival rate for transplanted trees.
Varieties must be on rootstock, so these are clonal rootstocks. Are they clonal rootstocks?
Grasses and bushes are also critically important for soil stability, water regulation, and natural fertility. And in the worst cases, where sand dunes are forming and shifting, mainly in the northern areas of the Loess Plateau, active measures like dune stabilization are required. This can halt the march of the sand, protecting the planted areas from this most serious problem. Over the last 10 years, many areas like this one near Yan'an in Shanxi province have made a dramatic transformation. The Loess Plateau Watershed Rehabilitation is producing visible evidence that it may be possible to rehabilitate large-scale damaged ecosystems. This has enormous ecologic implications in many areas. For soil stability in reducing erosion, in returning the natural fertility to the soil, in encouraging the return of diverse plants and animals, in water absorption and regulation of flow that could see streams flowing again throughout the year. And all the plants, and even more so the organic matter in the soil, sequester carbon, helping to regulate the carbon cycle, so badly out of balance because of massive human emissions of CO2.